my name is Excel. I'm the mid laner for Unicorns of Love, and today we play for IEM Oakland. As a team, we don't really feel pressured from the outside to do well. We want to do well ourselves. Everyone has the goal to go to Worlds this year. In general, we really want to face TSM and Flash Wolves, because I believe those are like the strongest teams going into the tournament. And I think it's like really good to play against those teams because you can learn a lot out of it. I think that overall we all get along really well together inside and outside of the game. And everyone knows the strengths and weaknesses of each player. And yeah, we just know how to deal with it. We play well as a unit. Overall in team fights, our communication is good, I think. For myself, it's really important to gather like big stage experience, because the only time I played on a big stage was basically in Oakland and once in Challenger Series 2 years ago. And yeah, I kinda want to look to get as much practice for like on a big stage as possible. Yeah, I think if we just do well, play our game, and study the opponents a lot, then we can definitely make it.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Intel Extreme Masters and the Xfinity Analyst Desk, as we are about to get into Game 2 between INTZ and the Unicorns of Love, after the Unicorns of Love took a very, very decisive 27-minute win in Game 1. And we listened to Exile there, the mid laner for the Unicorns of Love, who's mentioning we want to do good and get a good start to get to Worlds next year already. They're starting early, and it's definitely a good confidence boost for them for now, for this tournament, and looking ahead, because they completely dismantled INTZ. So as we approach picks and bans, INTZ will be on the blue side for this one. So what alterations can they make? Are they going to go for that Tahm Kench first pick that seems to be unbeatable?
Hopefully not. I sure hope that they completely scratch what they tried last game and really work on something new here. The Nidalee, as you mentioned, it did go unpicked in the previous match. We might see, put it on the carry on Revolta, see what he can do with it. But I didn't really like any of the picks that they worked with, except the Orianna from Toxter. And even then, past the laning phase just wasn't that great.
I mean, my first impression, or my claim would be that Unicorns of Love seem to have done a great scouting job, because that first pick, Tahm Kench, wasn't punished. So maybe they just had a read on the champion pool, exactly, of the support on the enemy side, and it really seemed to work out. And that's why, if we have to see INTZ reach for a first pick Tahm Kench, I'm confident there will be an answer from Hylissang to punish that pick.
Let's not see more first pick
Exactly,
Tahm Kench.
agree. I don't want to see it, but we could see it, given just the texture of the Game 1 draft.
Yeah, definitely. And this is also what they mentioned, that the Unicorns of Love have a lot of games to judge INTZ on, and not very much the other way around. So they will be looking in the dark a little bit for where they have to go.
But this is the thing, even though the first pick Tahm Kench kind of seems like a bit of a curveball, it's not really to the expectations that we still think that Unicorns of Love have up their sleeve. And at this point, because they are leading in the series, again, it is a best of 3, so they just need to win one more game, is that just play standard. Just hide your hand. You know that you have to face TSM later on if you manage to take down INTZ here, and then move into the finals if they make it that far. So just continue to play normal as usual.
And they've hit their hand very well. Solid picks all across the board, nothing that stands out. I mean, Victor, Poppy, how much more meta can you get? And they stomped the team with it. They could probably run it back, do the same thing again, and TSM is going to be just as dumbfounded to scout Unicorns than anybody else.
I mean, the only thing they could have done that was a bit more Unicorns of Love playbook from what we've seen would be something like the Ashe, but they'd responded to the Olaf really well, went for the extra safety of the Ezreal, and obviously very accomplished on that champion as Veritas. So didn't show anything, still have more of the standard playbook to show, and it was INTZ that tried to go for something different. They went for the gangplank. People have been bringing that back around the world, but it ended up just being another losing lane because the early game didn't roll out. So maybe something like the Gnar, you know, more of a standard good matchup, more of a competent 1v1 champion, and also a bit of a safer choice so we might have to see INZ go further into the standard playbook, and Unicorns of Love stick with standard.
I'd like to see more of the comfort picks, like especially in Revolta. I do agree with you on your Yang points, but I think Revolta should go back to the Lee Sin. He had a phenomenal performance on that champion for Worlds. He had the priority pick into the Olaf, so it wasn't like the Lee Sin was taken away from him early as a denial. So, you know, Olaf, very meta right now. Revolta didn't perform very well on it. I'd like to see that superstar jungler live up to his reputation by playing his superstar comfort.
Yeah, definitely. And if we see what INTZ has done in the past, it feels like they might want to go to that. But then we'll see if they will craft their pick and ban strategy around that, because the Nidalee went through the maze the last time around. Now picked nor ban, which was a big surprise. And we know that move can be really good on that champion as well.
It's not going to be that surprising, as we touched earlier. The addition to the cooldowns really makes it a little bit harder, that the more niche Nidalee players will be able to still play her, whereas the guys that just weren't really playing her because they enjoyed her, they played her because she was just that good, are going to stay away from her and find a way to say, you know what, I'm going to be better on the Lee Sin than on the Nidalee because I can really help the team out, as opposed to a carry jungler that really just does her own thing.
Again, it's what you're prioritizing in a jungler. You want to be able to farm quickly and efficiently moving through the jungle. You want to be able to scout and contest for those micro vision points like the Raptor camp, and you want to be able to duel. And so you don't necessarily need to do it on Nidalee. She was the best at the time, but like Crum said, by being tuned back, you can look towards the Olaf, you can look towards the Lee Sin.
We are some minutes away still from picks and bans, so that gives us some more time to vamp.
And it's the blue side. That's the big difference, right? Is INTZ is on blue. Jungle was completely passed over in bans before. Maybe you do try to cultivate the Lee Sin with Olaf and Nidalee banned. You're not actually pass something over to move on the other side. I agree with you in terms of, you know, the Nidalee specialist, Peanut still loving the Nidalee, but Move didn't see that much success on the champion during the regular season. So whether we see it picked or banned here, I don't know, but I want to see what INTZ prioritize as a first pick. Will it be something like a jungle, just because jungle was completely looked over in that last game?
And not just in priority of the actual picks, but in the play, because when you have a lane that is really doing really well, you really want to return to it. And the fact that we didn't see multiple attempts towards mid lane, except that one attempt in the previous game where every single person missed abilities, is not something that is easy to look at. I want to see these guys really punish somebody and make sure that you can continually do this, because that's how they beat EDG at Worlds. They found a lane that had a weakness, that had summoners down, and they exploited it. Where did that magic go? Hopefully they can bring it back for this game too and make a hell of a series.
Which is so funny because in CB LoL, INTZ are known as more of a macro-intensive heavy team, a bit slower pace in terms of their domestic region. And so it's supposed to be when all 5 players are grouped up that INTZ really shine. And we did see that during their IEM Paris run to qualify them into this tournament. It wasn't so much, again, kind of Revolta's lackluster early game that he's been tending towards. It was more when he got together with Yang, when they were moving around 5v5. But Unicorns of Love just tore them apart at the seams this time around. I mean, 26-minute stomp, they didn't even get a chance to get to where they're good.
I mean, the big thing is, though, they tried to pick a winning lane in top. They lost it. You know, at the end of the day, the Poppy had a lot more pressure. The 2v2 didn't go well. They actually had the advantage in the 1v1, but the top and bot spilled into mid lane, nullified Talkers having that good early game. And by the end, the scoreline from Exile kind of just betrayed the fact that it didn't matter that the early game didn't go in the mid lane over to Unicorns.
And when you then wonder, you get into that game and you maybe have dropped the ball a little bit in picks and bans, but they then need to co-help that top lane, and they didn't do it, just kept hovering around bottom lane. They had mid as a solo kill from your mid laner, and you don't help them out more. You do try, but not more attempts, as said by Crum. So we'll have to see what the priority is on as we get into game 2 and those picks and bans. And the Bard ban coming up for INTZ first up, and UOL with the Jace ban to start it all off.
Yeah, banning Bard on blue side and red side, so clearly really want to keep that pick away from Hylissang. Loves that roaming style Bard, one of the best to do it with the Magical Journey. So a lot of respect to Hylissang with that first ban. Unicorns of Love, maybe once again we'll see no jungle bans in the draft.
I think we'll probably see Kennen and Syndra be the bans out of Unicorns. That they've been targeting the top side. They want to make sure that Syndra doesn't go through. She's such a S-tier pick that you really cannot allow Talkers to have this. If he's able to get solo kills on Orianna, Syndra's going to be even easier.
The scary thing, though, is that that would leave open the Rise unless INTZ want to take it away right now. We talked about how that champion would be pretty pivotal between Talkers and Exile, especially for Exile being able to punish INTZ. Again, they like to roam around. They like to group up as 5. Rise can get that done very early and very efficiently.
So I find the Ashe ban very interesting here, maybe hinting at a first pick Jhin, because Ashe wasn't played earlier, and now they're in a position that there's just so many power picks that you can easily snatch that one, make sure that the Ezreal gets taken away, and learn from the previous game and hopefully take a lane that can really abuse as opposed to succumb to the Ezreal temp.
And that's why the Nidalee ban would actually lean towards that narrative, just because now you're not giving away Nidalee and another powerful pick on the red side if you do first pick Jhin. But the Rise is available, and they will deny shied away from Exile, so banned in game 1, then snapped up at first pick here.
Yeah, good observation in their strategy, and it seems like the Unicorns of Love are sticking with the Tahm Kench once again, and the Jhin coming out as AD carry.
I love the response. Jhin Tahm Kench is just a wonderful lane, especially for assisting mid laner. You push and you roam, and you can really utilize the length of both semi-global ultimates from these guys to really punish the Ryze. So Ryze, if he's against a matchup that can really have kill pressure on him, such as Victor at some point, or even the Orianna, he's going to be in a lot of trouble here.
I mean, you set it up perfectly, Crumbs. Right now, Unicorns of Love are saying this is a race to level 6 because they've already shown that they're able to unlock very early, that they don't just wait for the first tower to fall and then roam towards mid, that they'll get involved from the get-go with Exile, and that's when they really started to take control of the game.
It's going to be explosive.
Definitely will be. We'll see what they decide to go for, taking some time to see what they want to start off or continue their composition with on the sides of INTZ. Maybe pick a jungle up here. Lee Sin would be not giving away too much from that side, and then going towards the next pick. It does seem to be heading towards Olaf once again, and then Caitlyn for AD carry. Crumb's not that excited.
Yeah, I mean, the Caitlyn is just laning, basically. You want to lane, and then you win through the laning phase by taking the turret, by putting all the efforts to the bottom lane, because you have Ryze that can roam. So more attention towards the bottom side seems to be the answer from INTZ, which I'm not so sure is the right answer, because Tahm Kench is quite difficult to punish, as he can just bail out when somebody's right there to abuse. They're going to have to pair this with a Nami or some sort of Zyra. If they do Braum, this strategy will not work.
Yeah, and it is a move that's going to pick up the Lee Sin this time around, and a Cassiopeia in the mid lane for Exile, favorite pick of his as well.
I mean, INTZ really need to go, as you said, Crumbs, for that 2v2 laning. Caitlyn is a very strong laner. You're kind of bereft of options with Ashe banned against that Jhin on 621 before 622 and some of those lethality changes. So going for the laning strength in Caitlyn, but it needs to be laning strength with laner. They go for Braum again here against this Tahm Kench. I think that once again, Unicorns will get a very comfortable 2v2.
Oh, thank God. Zyra, yes.
There we go.
Just a hover.
All right.
The hope.
Makes so much more sense.
Hover hand is practically the same thing, so we'll go with it.
I was going to say, but Tahm Kench is still technically on the board as a flex pick in Unicorns of Love current draft. We did see it go into that support position, but if they do lock in the Zyra, that is the potential. See, this is why I also love it in tandem with the Kennen, because it's like daring them, like that has to go into support, otherwise you're going to have a bad time, because Unicorns of Love are thinking, pick Zyra, I dare you, we got the MF.
Yep. And there we go, Kennen for Young in the top lane, definitely something he could prove his worth on, and the bottom lane there of Caitlyn and Zyra from the side of INTZ. We'll see what Unicorns of Love decide to round out their comp with, which would be a top lane pick if they don't decide to put the Tahm Kench top, which we don't think so.
I mean, it could definitely take the Poppy here once again. It's one that would fit the drop just fine on the side. I mean, the laning phase against Kennen's nothing great early, but just like the Jace matchup, you get enough items and you can get through things as Poppy.
And she's gotten so good to the point where before you really needed to utilize the W to keep people out, but now she's so strong that it doesn't matter. If nobody can dash out of it, not a big deal. You're still a tank bot. The ultimate adds so much value to a team fight, especially when you're dealing with the likes of Ryze TPing around the map, as well as Kennen. And this is pour everything bottom lane.
Let's talk about the Ryze, though. How are you ever getting anywhere near the Jhin when you have the potential for the Cassiopeia with the ultimate as peel? You've got Poppy, who can also use that ultimate for peel. Lee Sin kick, Tahm Kench to get away. The safety here for Veritas on one of his traditional utility carries should mean that he should be untouched in team fights.
Yeah, holistically, it doesn't seem like INTZ has made enough changes to put something in the scale versus the Unicorns of Love. If they are going to focus it anywhere, where should it be?
I do think that the composition is just everything towards the bottom lane. You're not going to get that big of an advantage in Poppy after the first base. Poppy will likely use TP topside, come back to the laning phase, and if they use that TP window, hopefully in combination with level 6 on talkers, you can really focus down the bottom lane, crack that first turret, and start moving around the map faster than Unicorns can.
Something that they can do, though, is they have push advantage in pretty much, or INTZ have push advantage in both the top and the bottom side of the map. So unless, if they don't want to play it aggressive, they could just sit and farm the lanes out, have Revolta sit in the jungle as that Olaf, look to duel 1v1 against move, and kind of wait until that big 5v5 breaking point, as opposed to looking for these early 2v2, 3v3 skirmishes that really tore them apart last game.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, and hopefully it is explosive, and we're going to head over to our casters and get into game 2.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Of course, excited to get into game 2. Now, a little bit more creativity in the picks and bans here than last time, but no Cassiopeia top. When I saw that Orianna hover, I did, not gonna lie, get my hopes up.
He started shouting out, boring, boring.
Don't pick meta.
Do it. But yeah,
I mean, I cast in Europe. I get to see these guys all the time, and nothing makes me more happy than like, oh, that's a joke Alawi, however, over. And then like the grin, like, oh no, it's not. Like, yes.
Unicorns would be the team to do it as well. Always very creative, but right now, this is actually a very predictable draft. I think a lot of this was something that we were able to see coming here when you go back and forth. The question was, does Jockster play the Zyra? The answer is yes. To how well does he play it, though? Because if he's able to play it well, this is the best bully lane that you can have on 621 with Caitlyn Zyra. 100% winning lane against the Jhin Tahm Kench. You shove that in, you get an advantage there. Your mid lane is a losing lane, though, and your top lane is a winning lane for you early on.
It's interesting, too, because it's the second time, of course, we heard the desk, top and bot very much in favor. You're completely agreeing here that INTZ, they have the push, they have the early advantage. But I feel like that was the same case in the previous game, at least from what we saw from Orianna in the mid lane. The Jhin, Braum taking control early, or should have, but it's just a question mark of what is it really going to amount to?
I would say a lot of those are relative skill matchups, but not essentially like the extreme. Caitlyn Zyra is the extreme. Like, Caitlyn Zyra, what is Tahm Kench supposed to do in this lane except just take chip damage and get pushed in? Like, they're going to be playing underneath their turret on Unicorns of Love side, which may open up move to ganking the bottom side, which means Revolta should be around here quite actively. And when we come to the mid game, I want to see what INTZ do, because you heard Papa Smithy talking about it. How are they going to reach Veritas on this? Well, they have the Ryze ultimate. Ryze ultimate with your Kennen, deliver only him and the Olaf to the backline.
Oh, no.
He's dead.
Zyrene. They may not have been creative in the pick ban, but they're going to be creative in the level 1. There's 5 people there. Oh, the exhaust goes down. Jockster's running for his life. Kicks going. Are they going to die?
What?
That was.
Veritas still hits him with the Deadly Flourish, but it wasn't actually a hit that had made it so that it would be a root there on Jockster.
And interesting enough, too, they didn't know Macau was in the bush. They jumped at the first target they saw. They instantly exhausted Jockster, and if they had waited for Macau, they may have been able to grab the kill, but Unicorns of Love go for the early aggressive engage, burn the exhaust, and trade it for 2 flashes.
Yeah, at that point, you might even just like flash as Tahm Kench auto and get a Q, try to slow, and nope.
Either way, of course, advantage to Unicorns of Love may not be quite as big as the potential first blood there, but getting both of those flashes in the early laning phase may make it a little bit easier for Veritas and Hylissang to survive, although do you really think it's going to make a big of a difference in the 2v2?
Only difference it makes is that Move has a much easier time ganking this pre-6. He has a way in, a way to actually take advantage. And Jockster, no flash early
There's
on.
no way out here. It's an acquired taste. Hylissang, choosing the life of the vegetarian. Just going to pick that one up for himself.
I get that it's a standard move to invade early like that, but when you don't have your flash, you do have to pivot. You can't do that, and you will well sniff that out, place down the ward, and see it coming.
Everything is up in the air now because Macau and Jockster should have had control here, but Veritas and Hylissang are going to have a huge advantage on the bottom side.
They absolutely threw that away. You saw that Move was on the top side. INTZ had warded inside of the Krug pit. They knew that Move was top side, so they suspected Veritas and Hylissang start on the Gromp. Gromp with Tahm Kench, super easy to take. And then, boom, shows up. They were waiting for him, and Jockster, he played it by the book, but when you don't have your flash, it's not right.
And of course, Unicorns of Love just one step ahead and game of mental warfare here early on. Just sniff out the early attempt to deny the Krug and are just waiting there for Jockster, open arms, to pick up that first blood. Now Veritas already level 2. Macau and Jockster, they were behind for at least a few minutes here. Now, it's not the end of the world. Of course, it's only first blood. It's only 400 gold, but definitely not the start INTZ wanted, especially when they're already down a game.
And now they give up level 2. They give up a lot of their pressure.
Snares are connecting already. And this is, I mean, this is brutal. The bot lane we expected to be a huge winning point for INTZ, at least in terms of picks, but we saw them fall behind last game, and it seems to be a similar story here in game 2, but it's happening even faster due to that first blood. Now, the good news is Kennen is winning on the top side of the map. You can see on the minimap they're pushing in those waves, and Revolta's doing his best to clear out. Chachi having to give some respect over to Yang here. Yang doing a very good job with his counter pick.
Yeah, and this Kennen will win this lane very early on, and if you can get a large enough advantage, which is Kennen's strength, is you have to get that advantage. It'll eventually evaporate, though, and Poppy will just become unkillable. But at that point, the Kennen needs to go elsewhere and kill other people. But hopefully you just get an advantage in the early game here. You can already see 7 CS up, 6 with everything all accounted for here.
Exile waiting in the wings, does have a ward in the bush. Not sure if he spotted Olaf move in initially. You have to be careful now. He's going to get snared up. Talker's not going to look for any chain CC.
Don't know if you actually saw him. He's standing on a ward. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Saw him once he left the bush. Revolta, I mean, potentially an excellent gank opportunity there. Surprisingly, Cassio's still playing very forward, but Lee Sin is on the way in.
He's playing very forward right now because if Olaf ends up going into the jungle and then trying to go for a sneaky route, you can collapse much faster than the Ryze. And the Cassiopeia just crushes the Ryze early on.
And you can see Ryze burning through all that mana, no Tear of the Goddess to keep him sustained. And they do still have eyes on Revolta, so no tricky pathing or moves available. Talkers does have the push in his favor.
Yep, trying to prevent the freeze so he can back. And get his Tear, pick it up, and maybe even ghost back to lane, who knows. He's actually not going to take that opportunity. That's their cannon minion wave too, so there was more effective HP in that than most.
Move on the top side, maybe looking for a gank on the cannon, shut down the early snowball. They already shut it down on the bottom side. Talker's backing up, Exile doing a lot of damage. CC moving in, Olaf is here, Exile set to fall, one auto. Are they gonna go for it? Revolta's running in, the hero play, ooh, the sidestep. No second kill going over here. Move now on his way in. Is he gonna follow it?
Don't think so, but he's gonna actually allow this to push up and relieve the pressure here, prevent a freeze, allow the Cassiopeia and Exile to back on a good timing here, and that makes Talkers want to stick around because he's going to miss a big wave if he actually backs here. So,
I mean, Sang is here. Do you think they're going to go for the dive?
They might. They actually might here if he ends up absorbing enough. They have to make sure that Revolta is not around, but I think it's just a standard.
Oh, observers, you're playing with my heart. The fog of war is turned on.
Yeah,
Where are the unicorns?
Yeah, suckers! I can see the Tear came in for Cassiopeia. Can't fool me. He's back. You know.
You're cheating.
Yeah.
You're breaking the rules, Irene.
Still, the Cassiopeia wants it back for that Tear and have a good timing now. There's Talker's delayed on his, so now you get another push in when Exile returns to the lane. Now as we take stock of everything, Caitlyn down 10 CS. Good back here. Oh, the long swords for Veritas.
Classic. One you may remember from the days of Zed being a terror in the
How do I hold all of these? It's physically impossible, but still. Veritas, I'm surprised you didn't go for the Serrated Dirk, because the Serrated Dirk passive that gives you extra damage on the next hit after you kill a minion or a unit is very powerful.
I mean, of course, Zyra not known for, takes AP, isn't exactly a super tanky threat in the early game. Maybe just looking to push the advantage that he built early, but definitely a question mark. Have to see if that affects any of these trades. And mid lane, you mentioned Cassio gets the Tear, of course, Ryze, because he did manage to even out that lane because Unicorns of Love didn't go for the dive, does have his Tear and boots as well.
Talkers has a large advantage in this lane, and that's what Revolta's trying to abuse.
That was not the flash you wanted. Exhaust coming out. Veritas in trouble. Sidestepping around the minions. Macau is taking a ton of creep aggro. Lackluster flash, but of course Veritas going to walk away with his life.
Yeah, trying to get a better back timing here because the Tahm Kench backed, so they knew that Veritas was alone. They got his flash, so a little bit of an advantage here for INTZ. They do trade the exhaust for it, but now Macau gets to back with a little bit of the, I'd say, equal gold to what was backed with for Veritas.
Yep, you can see relative gold, 1,500 in the inventory. Should be able to pick up that BF sword.
Yeah, I mostly care about the gold spent usually in the early game here. If you back and you can buy like a Fiendish Codex.
Exile going in for the 1v1. Talkers is in trouble. The potential outplay. Talkers does have to burn everything to make it to safety, but cannot dodge the Petrifying Gaze.
Yep, it's that hard counter. It's the Cassiopeia countering the Ryze. It used to be the biggest hard counter to Ryze, but now it's not as bad, but it's still crazy. The Cassiopeia, even after multiple nerfs, is just a champion that can 100-0.
And so frequently we hear about how people talk about Petrifying Gaze on such low ping. Easy to sidestep, easy to turn around, but Ryze has to face her to cast all of those spells. So, I mean, you have to be ready at a moment's notice to turn around to interrupt your spell cast, and it looks like Talkers was just not prepared for the counter there.
Move going to go top side, actually give away his position here. Yeah. Spotted coming in. Yeah, just walk away, walk away.
Don't need it. Has the red buff, of course, and doing relatively well, but so far this game has not at all been about the junglers. Has a decent lead in the CS, but we've just been seeing so much action on the bottom side of the map, as well as in the mid lane. I wonder what the next step is for the team.
Right now, it looks like they want to go after Veritas on the bottom side with no flash. Possibly using the Ryze ultimate here for Revolta to get in. And Revolta has Ghost. They have to do it pretty soon.
They're going to try to use the movement speed steroid from the...
No? Okay, I guess it's a duo scuttler, you know, bring along a friend.
Ryze wants the extra gold, catch him up. He's already behind in CS, Siren. He needs that extra little boost. I mean, maybe Veritas and Corsair saying are backing off. They don't want to overextend here. Already behind by a decent margin in the early game, 12K to 13.4.
He's going to try to go over, uses a ward.
Oh, Yang moving forward, kicks him back. Does knock him out of the Poppy, is going to flash, try to make it to safety. Chachi, is he going to continue moving forward on this one? Knocks him up, the CC is coming in, Yang in trouble. Kill going over to Vizichachi, and it's 2-0 in favor of the Unicorns.
And again, Vizichachi gets attention top lane, and they punish Yang for being too far forward and having a winning matchup. That's the thing. Yang has had the better matchup. He's just getting punished by the jungler way sooner.
And it's intense to watch. Of course, Yang so close to making it out of that one, but the Unicorns of Love are so patient there, know the exact limits. Chachi holding on to that ultimate. Solid setup overall. Revolta, of course, going to be happy to pick up all this CS, but Yang has to be feeling frustrated. Should have the lead here and still manages to go down after the pressure from the jungle.
Yeah, and now that's a completely evaporated lead in the top lane. Multiple magic resist items coming in for the top side. And
gets it again. Talkers, there's nothing left for this guy. He's running for his life. The Ghost is up and available, but Exile, he struggled in game 1 and turned it around to bring it back in game 2. Not even going to miss a step.
Yep, and Cassiopeia just getting the ultimate there, and Exile, I mean, he's a rookie. This is his first split.
He came in at one of the most improved mid laners I think we've seen in EU. This man went from Yasuo one trick, dying in side lanes alone, to now dominating mid lane on the international stage. And it's been a huge story of growth for Unicorns of Love this split.
Yeah, he's had a really, really good end of the season, I would say. Looking like a top 3 mid laner in EU.
I mean, there's a lot of famous names. It's going to be a very contested title as we come into next season. But Jockster may be in trouble. Hylissang, once again, looking for a little snack. Ooh, flashes out, but Move is here too. Every member of the Unicorns ready to go in. Does miss the Sonic Wave. Jockster has backup now. Ready to fight. Move has to be careful. Dragon's up and available. Sonic Wave. He's going to make it out to safety. Dragon even nice enough to knock him back into his own jungle.
Barely getting to the other side there. Works out for him. But not really able to catch a break here on the side of INTZ. And it's just more and more falling into the hands of Unicorn. But actually falling into their hands isn't the right way to say it, because they're actually creating these advantages themselves. They're making these plays, and it's not just mistakes from INTZ.
And of course, something we heard from the analyst desk is maybe looking for more of a Lee Sin, more of a Nidalee, these more aggressive picks that are going to come in from Revolta. And we're seeing the Olaf again, of course, an absolute powerhouse, no doubt, but not really seeing any impact from it at all here, and we're already 11 minutes in the game.
Yeah, you would expect him to be able to use that Ghost on cooldown and over again just affect these lanes. Veritas didn't have a flash. Ghost used the Rise ultimate, try to get into that lane. We saw them in a position to possibly do that, and they didn't do that. Even just getting the summoner spells out from your opponent would be a victory there. If Hylissang eats him, flashes away, still worth. But they haven't been making those types of plays here, and INTZ aren't making those trades. Instead, they're wasting their time, because they do that immediately. Move goes to the top side, Yang is now in trouble. And now you have to go and spend the rest of your time on the top side of the map. So now the Unicorns Love know where your jungler is, know that they can do stuff bottom lane, send people there, get control of that side. And that's the thing, as soon as you let one piece fall out of place, they get to say, okay, you have to go here to protect, cover up that hole, and then you have to go here afterwards, because that's where I'm going to go. And they just lead you around the map like that. And it's a standard strategy in League of Legends, but INTZ still need to be proactive so that they can get that chain going, but in their favor.
And of course, getting back into game here, but something we saw so much of the World's meta in 6:21 as opposed to 6:18, but still relatively similar, is that it's so hard to get out from these early gold deficits. Tower First Blood hasn't even gone down yet, but with all the pressure Unicorns of Love are putting down, you can expect it to go in their favor, and that small gold lead, I mean 2K pretty large for 12 minutes, is only going to continue to grow unless Exile oversteps, but is saved out there by Hylissang.
Yeah, still use the Ghost though, so a little bit unnecessary. He is going to get away. It's better safe than sorry.
I feel like Hylissang was holding him back. I feel like Exile definitely wanted to kill
the Ghost,
definitely wanted to kill someone, and he's like, no, back up. Of course, now getting aggressive on the bottom side. Now flashing forward. Hylissang wants a party here. Does get the trap down, but that kill belongs to the Tom Kench. The bloodthirsty support coming through. 2-0. Oh, Chachi.
No ultimate from Yang here. He's going to have to get the stun.
Coming in. Is going to get it. Olaf, of course, immune to CC. Ragnarok goes down. Chachi now set to fall. Is trying to make his way to safety. Axe is going to connect. Move makes it the 1-for-1. Revolta going to have to back away.
And you can see that there on the player cam. Yang stepped a little too far forward. He knows it, and a little bit of frustration there, but they're trying to make a move.
Keep the ball rolling. They're down in gold. They want to bring it back. Talker's going to look to the chain CC. Revolta going to move in. Rise is tanking the tower, but Move is making the moves as he tries to make his way out of this one. I think he's still set to fall. He shields up. Revolta tanks a tower shot. is going to make it out in the end.
Yeah, and Zyra's up here as well, so the Cassiopeia can't just come up there to the top side, but that might be first turret still going over to Unicorn's Love at the bottom.
Gonna get that first brick, all important, maintaining their gold lead and now making it even larger. 650 gold going over to Veritas already with a sizable lead on the bottom side. And they're gonna continue pushing forward here.
Yep, that's gonna give them control of the top side and the bottom side here. That red buff is almost up. The Unicorns want it back ahead of time because they know, oh, Cassiopeia is on the top side, Exile sees nobody, so where are they? Well, they have to be bottom side, process of elimination.
And while INTZ have been able to get a few good kills here, trading back and forth on the top side, making that aggressive dive, it is feeling a lot like the first game where Unicorns of Love are building these strong leads. And as we take a look at this replay, you can see INTZ, though, they're not done yet.
Yeah, INTZ, oh, they still have a lot of fight in them. Right here, though. Yep. Yep. Just barely. And this is actually really good. Talkers gets a great ultimate onto the backside, and Zyra was there to hold. Talkers.
Talker is not what you want.
You got the flash off, though.
One more shot. Oh. The true curtain call. 1, 2, 3, 4. Happy to knock him down. Jockster trying to clear the waves. Hylissang is not concerned about the tower, and Jockster not paying the respect to the 80 carry on the Unicorns of Love. Veritas with the double kill.
And making great use of that Tahm Kench and the tankiness that he has, as well as that gray health. And now they're going to get another turret here, and if you stick around here as INTZ, you're still in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. 5K gold lead, 14 minutes in. This is domination in favor of the Unicorns of Love. CS leads across the board, 135 to 105 in the mid lane, 134 to 99 on the bottom side. And potentially even more shocking, Poppy with the lead on the top side, despite what should have been a very rough matchup.
Yeah, and when you look at what Unicorns of Love are doing, just their kill participation in this game and in the last game, it's just everybody is doing well in these games. Everybody is contributing a whole lot. Nobody has more than 3 to 4 kills that they've participated in, and that's 50%. But hold on.
Chachi potentially in trouble. Revolta moving in, rinsing and repeating on the top side. Hylissang is on the way. Has he brought anyone with him? INTZ just going to back away. Proto Belt used.
Yeah, they brought him here, but this might be just another person to die, because here comes the Zyra, and here comes Macau.
Maybe looking for a little more. Chachi gonna hit the stun. Yang maybe looking to move forward. INTZ just wanting to get the turret. Chachi not gonna hit anyone there. We'll knock the creeps away.
Gives enough time, though, because now when the next wave hits, Exile will be in range here, but he's actually just going to run back towards the mid lanes because they think that INTZ are going to have to respond bottom and send somebody back.
Yeah, Veritas is already pushing on the bottom side. Exile is going to be able to clear out these waves earlier or easily. INTZ need to make something happen here. Not going to connect at all with the Zyra plants. Just doing a little bit of damage.
Yeah, meanwhile, Veritas, easy mode on the bottom side of the map here. Talkers.
Rise does have his ghost available. Can move in. Veritas is just going to move forward. Oh!
He was trying to juke him with it. He thought he would run backwards, and he didn't.
Not even concerned. He's like, oh, I'll take the 1v1 after I take the tower.
Yeah, plus it's his last shot as well. It gives him some extra movement speed. He had flash available, so Veritas, he would have finished the tower anyway. Maybe he would have gotten ghosted down, but still.
And this gold lead just continues to grow. 7K in their favor. Exile wants to make it even more. The snare not even going to connect. Tries to throw out the ult, and it goes just wide.
It's a good sign, though, for INTZ. They almost have the cannon ultimate back up here. That top turret, though, it's going to be hard to get an inside track on it here.
Already with a 3-tower lead. Yang running forward, clearing out the waves with the Proto Belt. That's Chachi straight too far, doesn't look like it. Talker's looking for some revenge here. Exile, of course, no ultimate. There's just nothing you can do. He's just too strong. Exile picks up another kill, 2-0 and 3.
You're 2 levels down. You're trying to duel this Cassiopeia that's already a hard counter to you. He has both summoner spells available as well in the Cassiopeia. There's zero reason to actually go for that if you don't have any help.
Abyssal Scepter, no pen on the side of Rise, of course, opting for the cooldown boots. It's just not going to work out for Talkers. He tries to force it anyway, looks for an outplay, and just isn't going to find it.
And this Unicorns of Love team, they're already looking for next year, but they're also looking at this IEM. Unicorns of Love don't have a trophy in their case. They have a challenger trophy, but ever since they've joined the EULCS, 5th place, 4th place, 2nd place one time, 5th place, 6th place. They keep ending up making playoffs, but they're still middle of the pack European team. They want to break away from that. They've had a split now with Veritas, Exile, move in the roster. They revamped it with 2 of the old members. And now Unicorns of Love, this is the time for them to start going into 2017 saying we are a strong team that needs to be taken very seriously and put Europe back on the map as well, because Europe's showing at Worlds, they took a step back from 2015.
Hey man, we still made it to semis.
I know. Wasn't 2 teams though.
Wasn't 2 teams. And of course, I mean, teams need to be looking to compete, and Unicorns of Love, so often in the offseason, we see massive roster shuffles. Not the story for the Unicorns of Love. They rebuilt the team around Hillisang, around Chachi, and surprisingly Exile, this unknown name, coming in to make big for them.
Yeah, Unicorns of Love made a roster shuffle in summer, brought some new people in, and that's what they're saying is, you know, they are a team that is based on teamwork, not essentially individual mechanical skill or talent. They really just want to be a unit. They want to be a great team, and that's what they've been working on. If you keep swapping your roster up, well, you're never going to get there. It's going to take too long, and they've took this split, and they've taken the time to actually get to this point. And just want to know if it's enough to take down INTZ to make the semis and test their mettle against TSM.
And it looks like they may just do that. 9K gold lead in their favor. Chachi pressuring in on the bottom side. Unicorns of Love, all of the jungle belongs to them. And the map is steadily shrinking for INTZ where they can move safely. I mean, it's almost nowhere. Olaf, of course, the Ragnarok to keep him safe, but if that falls off cooldown, Unicorns of Love may be able to just pick that kill up. Talker's going to do his best to clear the waves here, but it's just so terrifying for him to approach alone.
Yeah, even approach as a team at this point. If you just think of the average levels that are going on here, it's junglers are even, top laners are even, mid lane 2 behind. 80 carry 2 behind for INTZ. And that's going to buff up your minions too. Can't forget about that. When the average level is higher, you get slight buffs on your minions, so your side lanes will always shove on Unicorns of Love side, so that gives them more time to do things like the Baron to set up objectives easier, because it's naturally shoving lanes.
And of course, gold, I mean, we just have to look at the way this affects the gold leads too. You know, levels have the independent gold value for the stats they give, for the damage they add to your abilities, so already the gold lead approaching 10K. If we take into account the value of the levels, it's definitely there. Now Chachi, maybe in trouble here, is going to have to flash to save if there's so much CC. Nice sidestep, has the red buff, but the cannon ult is coming in. Chachi is set to fall here. INTZ taking the steps to bring it back into this game, and they are going to be able to pick up the top laner on the Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Unicorns of Love. They lose their top laner, they lose their flash, and everybody else was back, so they couldn't do anything like set up a Baron. Usually during that time, the top laner just runs around, tries to waste as much of the enemy's time as possible on multiple people so that you can get something, but everybody was back.
And of course, that is something we saw in Game 1 from Chachi as well. Some small missteps, leading potentially to some unnecessary deaths, but of course, Unicorns of Love don't seem to be phased, don't really need to be. Still have that massive lead. INTZ slowly crawling back here, but UOL taking control of the Baron area, and I think this is going to be the next big focus point.
Yeah, both teams are going to want to get to this Baron area. UOL to push their lead, and INTZ to prevent the snowball and possibly get a steal. And when you see Chachi, going back to that, shove up that far, it's usually because he might be looking for a TP play on the other side of the map, or he's just trying to prevent a freeze from somebody who's behind. Well, he's preventing the freeze there from Kennen, because if he freezes, then what's the Poppy going to do? Has to run to the other side of the map and try to make something happen. Everybody else is back, so it took the risk. It turns out 3 people were there, but unlucky. Infernal Drake's up, though, so actually I think most people are going to run towards that now with the Baron being covered.
Much safer to take. Of course, Unicorns of Love don't really have to be worried about INTZ burning it down. No real tools available to do that. Ryze, of course, nice damage output, but Caitlyn just too far behind to really make an impact. Still working towards that initial Infinity Edge. Moving Veritas should be able to clear this one out quite easily. Chachi playing guard over the side of the wall.
Veritas also goes armor penetration with the Youmu's immediately into a rapid fire cannon. Usually you'll see another penetration item second, like a Duskblade, but he goes for more range to actually do something about the Caitlyn, a little bit of movement speed to help himself out, and that crit, which this build usually neglects because you have a 4th shot that's always a crit, and you will usually get an Infinity Edge last item, but he's augmenting it slightly.
Of course, with a massive lead and the lead in levels as well, the proc is going to do a pretty large chunk of damage.
True.
Talkers potentially in trouble. Unicorns of Love look to be getting aggressive. Veritas is going to bust out the curtain call. Talkers is going to try to use the ult to escape. Yes, Realm Orb takes him to safety. Yang, though, has to back off. INTZ burning skills left and right just to make it to safety.
And is the curtain called? They know that Poppy doesn't have the flash, but otherwise everything else in the entire game is just up right now. The teleports, the exhausts, the flashes, so INTZ, you know, they're in a good position to have a team fight for themselves, but it has to be they pick off a Cassiopeia or a Jhin quickly, or somebody's out of position.
Oh, Chachi, he wants more. Talker's caught out. Exile! That was an ult to end a game, and Macau is running for his life. Revolta may be safe, but the rest of his team is not. Beautiful, petrifying gaze.
Amazing play there from Exile. Unicorns of Love end up going for the fight. Yang isn't there. He doesn't have the Proto Belt active either. There's no way for the Kennen to turn that fight.
We're just going to have to pause just to take that in. That was a beautiful all coming in from the Casio. That was destruction. INTZ, this is not looking good for them. And I mean, I didn't even see a pick opportunity there, but Chachi sees the wall, sees the setup, knows he can take down the Rise, and capitalizes on it. Such massive confidence coming in. We'll look at this replay, and I mean, Chachi, just watch the Casio.
Oh, 3-man stun there. Talkers takes the damage as well. The follow-up on top of the miasma. Macau can't even flash until then. It's already too late. Twin Fang, the poison's already on him. And there you see Yang finally walk up, but beautiful play there.
And you talked about it, Cyrene. It's not about the mechanical skill for these guys. They have strong mechanical players, but it's about the team play, and the perfect chain of CC there is a great example of what that can do for your squad. And Unicorns of Love, this Baron is free for them to take, and the gold lead continues to grow 11K in their favor.
Yeah, it was an absolutely just game-changing or game-accelerating for UOL's side of things since they're already so far ahead. The flash ultimate there from Exile just perfectly executed. That gives them the Baron, 3 levels up on the mid laner, 3 levels up 80 carry-wise, and UOL is looking to dominate possibly another 27-minute game for themselves, 26 minutes.
It's definitely taking that course. 2-0-2 the score for the 80 carry, 3-0-5 for the mid lane. Somehow 3-0-3 for the Tahm Kench support as he continues to eat everything in his path.
That's why they've been picking it. It's just working out really well for Hylissang. He does a ton of damage on it. He's been using that ultimate really efficiently and effectively. He's had his roams on point.
And of course, when we looked at the Worlds meta coming in, we expected a lot of Tahm Kench, the potential for the ult, the global mobility, and it just wasn't a high priority there. But here now in 6:21, looks like Hylissang is quite comfortable to pick it up. They first rotation to last game, and it's overall just been a solid pick for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that it should have been punished by the Caitlyn Zyra, just 100% should have been punished. They get the flash early off of that, and then they end up punishing Jockster when he goes for the invade to try and stop the level 1 Grump. That's just the lane right there. That's a lot of this game, is that advantage you're supposed to have in the draft from INTZ. This is gone, and now's a flank TP.
Coming in, Chance from behind, this could be it. Doing his best Smeb impression, trying to get what he can, but it's just not going to be effective. Yang, you have bitten off more than you can chew in. Exile, just going to continue to clean up. Hylissang going to deliver him into the middle of the team. Say, here, have another one. But it's Hylissang who's on a rampage. The double kill drops for Exile, and just a beautiful play there to turn around that engage.
And now just clearing out the mid lane and the top lane, simultaneously pushing the minions up. They're going to get so much off of this. UOL, 20 seconds on the death timers for INTZ.
Trying to beat their own record for game end time after game 1. They're moving in. They are set to take the second game. They are set to face TSM tomorrow. Are they going to be able to close? Death timers counting down, 2 seconds for Jockster, counting down for Yang, for Talkers, for Macau. Revolta too far away. Unicorns of Love, a confident 2-0 coming in over INTZ to face TSM tomorrow.
Absolutely convincing play there from Unicorns. Domination, start to finish, especially in this game. A 25-minute victory, less than an hour. Best of 3. Incredible there.
That's what we were joking about. Like, Cyrene would never get a cast together. It's like, well, apparently that's the status quo, because there's just no time on the desk this time around. But Unicorns of Love, we had to wonder, INTZ, what steps they were going to take, how they were going to change after the World's performance, and you know, looking a little bit rocky. Unicorns of Love, the even bigger question mark. It had been so long since we'd seen this lineup, and they are looking better than ever, but the real test remains for them tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's such a great way to put it as well, is this test, because Unicorns of Love, we don't know where they stand. We don't know how much they've actually developed in that off time and what they've been working on, who they've been scrimming, if they've been scrimming, and if they've been having success. Because the question coming in was, okay, how good are they? Like, that has a little bit of a negative connotation, right? But now it's, how good are they? How good are they? How far does this team go? Are they able to take down TSM that now has a substitution without a lot of experience with the whole roster there?
And I think, I mean, as the desk mentioned at the start of the day, this is a tournament of question marks. This is, how are INTZ going to perform? The Chiefs, Longzhu, these teams that don't always get, you know, great international exposure, and it just continues moving forward. Now the question mark is for TSM, because we've seen what Unicorns of Love do when they get in stride, and I mean, I think TSM may have a, you know, a better time in the early laning phase. It's not going to come down to that maybe mechanical mismatch, but still have to bring their best foot forward.
Yeah, draft definitely going to matter. I think that UOL have some great ideas in mind, and they play to their strengths in the draft. So the laning phase, I don't think UOL will really give anything up, but now I want to see Exile versus Bjergsen. I think that's going to be the best matchup on the Rift in that day, right? I think that's just going to be really stylistically similar. I think Vizicachi and Hanser are stylistically rather similar. So who's going to be able to carry?
It's going to be a big question. Of course, you've heard enough from us. Let's hear what the Unicorns have to say about that dominating win.
Well, we are here with the Totino's winner interview here with Vizicachi. Congratulations on the win. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good, thank you. I didn't really have enough sleep, but other than that, I think winning the first game is always a good feeling, and we are looking forward to playing more in this tournament.
Well, without a lot of sleep, under 26 minutes for both matches, how were you able to completely dominate the last two games?
I think we had good practice coming into the tournament, and we were very confident in our picks and plays. So we went kind of aggressive into them, and felt like the resistance was not too high, so we could finish the games quite fast.
You did pretty good. So I want to talk about Exile. He is a rookie for your team. How is he doing? People are saying that he's one of the best mid laners in the EU, and he's only getting better. Talk to me about Exile and how you think he did today.
Yeah, I agree with that. He has improved a lot ever since he got into our team. I think in his first weeks he was struggling a lot, and after he found his champion pools and he got adjusted to the LCS stage, he started playing way better, and yeah, he's still progressing, so I think he can become even like one of the best in the world, so I have a lot of faith in him.
Speaking of the best in the world, you are the best in the world Age Mythology player. What is it going to take to be the best team in the next matchup against TSM?
I think in League it's a lot more about like team play, and it will depend a lot on how we do as a team, because I think individually in lanes we will be fine against like nearly anyone, but when it comes down to team rotation, that's when we need to be on point against TSM, because they are quite strong as a team.
And that they are. Well, back to you guys, and congratulations, Unicorns of Love.
And thank you very much for that, Mark, with Vizicachi, who was immediately asked about Exile, of course, as well, who had a great start here, and who will be going up against Bjergsen tomorrow. That UOL-TSM matchup is coming through. We'll talk about that a bit more, but first we have to wrap up the INTZ versus UOL series. As said, it was going very, very quickly, and we saw in Game 2 some adjustments, and straight off the bat, level 1, the Unicorns of Love had a plan.
Right, we got to start it from the start, and if you've been watching Worlds, you know that a lot of times these teams always go towards the bottom lane. You want to have that scouting advantage, putting in the wards towards down there. INTZ look completely lost. They get surprised by Unicorns with a great strategy to invade down there. They burn the flash out of Zyra. But here's the part that I just don't get. Why would you invade when you have no summoners? And this is just the beginning of everything, because it really looked like the Unicorns weren't the only animals in this game. Invading without flash is just not right.
And I mean, the whole story here, though, is that you mentioned the adjustments in the draft. I thought the draft from INTZ made a bit of sense. The thing that you do with a draft like this is you take advantage of the fact that you have that super strong 2v2, Caitlyn, Zyra. You take the turret bot, you rotate to Poppy's lane, not a lot of wave clear there on the Poppy. Cassiopeia, mostly single target wave clear as well. You take those turrets and you snowball, you keep the tempo of the game up. But after the level 1, ironically, it was the Unicorns the ones that were taking the turrets against the flow, against the comp they were against, and that was the part where you knew this game was going to be super one-sided.
And the big issue is just like what you see on your screen right now, you have INTZ who are picking up these kills, but they don't mean anything. Like, anytime they did win a fight, or anytime they did get any of these table scraps, they weren't able to rotate that into an objective, into an epic monster. And then you have plays like this, where Exile just lands a 5-man petrifying gaze, just gorgeous to watch.
Yeah, fantastic, and he did get the advantage. He didn't get solo killed in lane this time around. The jitters were off, and he just completely dominated that lane and helped his team snowball. And has again, in slow-mo, it's even pretty.
No, you got to slow-mo that.
And look, it was the Exile show for sure in both games, especially after that early solo kill that went the other way. The story here for Exile, though, is I talked to a lot of EU analysts coming into this. They shared our hype about him as a mid laner, particularly to the end of the season. And the question I asked was, okay, if you have to talk about another pro to kind of parallel the career of Exile to, the name I heard again and again was Bjergsen. They talked about came in as an assassin player, didn't really know how to play the split push, didn't really know how to play at the highest level, then evolved into a control mage player, evolved their champion pool, and then took games over. And that's what we've seen from Exile, again, in the limited one-split lifetime of his top-level career.
But I also do think we have to give a lot of credit to Hylissang. He went 4-0-5 onto the Tahm Kench, and we mentioned earlier that he's one of the guys that likes to buy the boots early. Went with a 6-minute 50
Swifties.
St's boot, and the roams just kept coming. They were unable to punish the AD carry in the bottom lane. He was just able to move all over the map and really help his team out, because if he goes missing, even if he's not really there, the idea that a Tahm Kench could show up at any moment is so dangerous that you just cannot aggress.
Yeah, it forces you to play cautious. And again, we said that Unicorns of Love, they have TSM further on in the bracket. They will now be facing them in the semifinals. They didn't need to, they just had to hide their hand here. And they did exactly the same thing. They first rotated that Tahm Kench. They weren't punished for it. We don't know what other tricks they have up their sleeves. If they do, it's the Unicorns of Love. You have to expect for that. So going into TSM versus UOL, there's a ton of question marks and a lot of excitement.
Yeah, before we talk a bit more about that, very exciting matchup. I do want to wrap up when it comes to INTZ, because I said this is single elimination. This was their only chance, and they immediately get knocked out. What does it mean for them? Did we see signs for the future that are hopeful in this play? Because to me, it felt like it was more of the same that didn't make them win any more games at Worlds.
I'm hoping they get amnesia out of this one. There really is not a whole lot for them out of this. This showing was just not good. Honestly, it just was not anything to be like, yeah, I'm happy with this. So hopefully they can just look back on the mistakes that they want to fix from earlier and make sure that it doesn't show up again.
I got to echo your point. Up year in terms of the wild cards when it came to Worlds, but this one's a one to forget.
It's all on the shoulders of the Chiefs now, Frost.
That's true.
But it wasn't, the worst part is it wasn't even just one member that kind of dropped the ball for INTZ. Revolta was missing continuously all those axes. We wanted to see him move towards the Lee Sin. He stayed on the Olaf. Talkers had a good initial early game and then really fell apart in game 2 as Exile showed up on that Cassiopeia. Macau and Joxer especially just kind of nowhere to be seen. So I don't think INTZ, when you walk away from this, you can't just pinpoint the blame on any one member. Collectively as a unit, they never got to showcase their strength, which is that big 5v5. So at least look at the early game, shore that up, move forward, start on the right foot in the CB LoL.
Yeah, we'll see how they go from here, and then we got to talk about that matchup of tomorrow. And of course, it's always a double-edged sword in a series like this, but it was very convincingly from the side of the Unicorns of Love. But you can't maybe put that much weight on the competitor, as INTZ didn't really show up here, but doesn't take anything away from the fact that those hopes we had for the Unicorns of Love of coming together as a strong unit with the same lineup are ringing through. But the big question is, how will they do up against TSM tomorrow? Where are their ends?
Well, I think Visuchachi really hit the nail on the head by saying that the opposition wasn't really there. And what I mean by that is that they know what to take if there's no response or resistance to what they're trying to do, which just means that if TSM isn't putting up a fight where they need to be doing so, they will be punished by the Unicorns and they will be losing objectives and be losing map control, which is quite exciting to see, because a team that knows how to take advantages of the mistakes of an opponent is a team to be feared.
And it's just so much excitement, even on the narrative side, because Unicorns, before they even hit the LCS, made their name with that series against TSM 2 years ago. That was the kickstart they needed. And now this roster that they've cemented on that will go in, it looks like with quite a lot of momentum for 2016, can kind of re-hit that narrative. If they take out TSM, their confidence for 2017 is going to be sky high.
Yeah, and they have the history against that team at an IEM in the Bay Area as well. So let's look at the points. The bottom lane here, which is not traditionally something for the Unicorns of Love that you would say this is the strongholder of the team, but it seems like Hylissang is really coming into his own in this pick and propelling that bottom lane forward. What can they do against that Biofrost and now Wild Turtle lane tomorrow?
That's the big question mark. What kind of form will Biofrost and Wild Turtle put together as a duo? Individually, we've seen some strengths. That said, Biofrost, he had a lot of hype around him. He showed up, he did decently well on the international stage in terms of Worlds, but it wasn't excellent. And so now it's just a really kind of like gut check moment. Where does Hilly actually sit in the holistic rankings? Because we have a pretty good yardstick to measure where Biofrost lined up internationally.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, because you're putting it very nicely, but the two rookies in Hanser and Biofrost, they just weren't able to do that at Worlds, what we may have expected from them.
Cuts right to the point.
It was their first tournament, so this might also be somewhere to make it up for them. And as you said, as we mentioned earlier as well, Bjergsen being on full form from the beginning. Of course, he had that illness that he was battling during Worlds. The shot calling will be very important, especially knowing that you have a different member now in that bottom lane.
Yeah, someone has to pick up a voice, because it was Bjergsen and Doublelift. Now Doublelift is gone. Wild Turtle, not known as a shot caller. Who will kind of pick up the slack? Will it have to be Biofrost, who now is going to be someone who's more senior than at least Wild Turtle? And Wild Turtle is a very different AD carry to Doublelift. In terms of laning phase, not his strength. Usually he was strongest when Adrian was on the Sorakas and the Jannas of the world in spring season. So it changes a lot about what we expect out of TSM. And that's why we have more questions than answers when it comes to 2v2 especially.
Speaking of expectations for TSM, though, we have to think that they're still going to be that aggressive, forward-moving team.
Rotations.
Exactly. Unicorns of Love as well. And, Unicorns of Love were able to run over INTZ, who are very much more slow slower pace, much more about the macro, trying to group up. They never got to that point. Against TSM, if UOL try to play this very aggressive, fast-paced game, TSM will meet them there. And so, yeah, Unicorns of Love look amazing right now, but again, level of competition in terms of just stylistic mismatch between INTZ and TM. The too many teasers. Team solo mid is just, there's too much of a discrepancy there.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, the level of competition. On top of the fact, it's only 2 games. It's like 52 minutes of gameplay that we've seen out of this team. So they definitely have a lot more for us to show. And
they only have to win 2 more series to win the entire thing.
If they play a game like this one against TSM in game 1, I'm going to give them all the credit in the world. But until we see that level of play against better competition, I'm still on the fence.
Cautious optimism.
Exactly.
Definitely cautious optimism, but definitely a good start from the side of Unicorns of Love. That match versus TSM is tomorrow, but a lot more action left to come here today at IEM Oakland. We will be back after the break with the show match between Stanford and UC Berkeley.